All right. Hey, everybody. Welcome back to the channel. This is Rob here at Smirking Gun Reviews, back to do more old S.H.I.E.L.D. new reviews where we pretend that Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. is not gone as we look back at all the previous seasons and review them for the first time for me. A lot of I didn't do these seasons when they were out. The only ones I did current were 6 and 7. So we've already done season 1, we've done season 2. Now we're currently doing season 3. We are on episode 7. It is called Chaos Theory. So, full spoilers if you have not seen these episodes. They are all on Netflix and probably will end up on Disney Plus at some point. But also want to point out that in November, we will be going back to D's reviews where... One second, I'm going to pause this. Nope. Yep. I'm trying to record this and I'm getting inundated with email after email on my screen, and I'm like, I can't talk and will not get distracted by these emails that keep popping up. So I got to change that one of these days. I keep saying that, and I never do. But anyway, in November on D's Reviews, we are going to be continuing Fans of S.H.I.E.L.D. by looking back at all the previous seasons and saying what our favorite moments and episodes and things like that were. So it's starting in with season 1 in November. And then we're also going to be doing season 2, season 3, all the seasons, and bringing in Agent Carter. Another thing to look forward to on this channel is we are going to be doing Agent Carter reviews each episode. And we're also going to have some help with a great other person on YouTube here that's more of a voice on Fans of S.H.I.E.L.D. right now. Not really as a presence on YouTube as much, but a fan of Agent Carter, a fan of S.H.I.E.L.D., a fan of Fans of S.H.I.E.L.D. She's a huge commenter on those videos, and that's Corey Shoemaker. She's going to be joining me eventually when we get that figured out. We'll be doing Agent Carter reviews, so I'll have some help with those. It's nice to have more than one voice on it, because I haven't seen that show since it first aired either. But getting into this one now, Chaos Theory is this episode, and it's definitely not my favorite episode. It's all about how they capture Lash, and then all the little kind of drama bits, little side stories going on in between. And that's not to say that those are bad stories. It's just there's a lot of just little bits here, and a little bit of growth in this story, a little bit of growth in this story, lots of exposition, and also, and it's probably throughout it's throughout all this show, but this one really kind of felt real soap opera-y to me. A lot of people walking into rooms with that kind of like, "Am I interrupting?" Kind of like whenever you watch a soap opera and two people are having a conversation, a third enters the room, and it's always the person that doesn't like one of the people in the room. And like I said, it's throughout this show, but this one really started. It really kind of showed, like especially the. And I'm not saying they're soap opera acting, they're not, but it just kind of has those tropes a little bit in this episode. But also, this has kind of a sad story going on at the same time that is good, and that's like you kind of see the what could have been for May and Andrew, and also the hope and for Fitz and Gemma, and the danger that their beginning relationship is in because of what happened to her when she went to Maveth. And so you kind of got these relationships in this weird flux. So like we see Andrew and May at the beginning in Hawaii, she's left Shield after the end of season 2. They're talking about why it didn't work, but how it can now, and she can go back to Shield, and about finding happiness. And from last week that she's just found out that he's Lash, but she doesn't want to just jump right in and accuse him of it. She wants to find out all the information. And, and at this point in the story, we know that he's, he's in denial of what he is. So this flashback showing like what could have been when we know it's going to go horribly wrong. And so it's kind of sad, and especially how Andrew got the power in the first place. We see that he was, doing research to find and help Inhumans, and that Jia Ying had a book booby trapped with Terrigen Mist to keep people from finding out because she was worried about her people, rightfully so, because of, like, look what happened in season 2. So the Terrigen goes off and puts him in a cocoon, and he comes out and he becomes Lash, who has this hunger to kill his own people. One of the things I always find interesting about this, and kind of like mutant characters too, is a lot of times these powers are like kind of dark reflections of themselves in some way. So like you've got Andrew as a psychiatrist who wants to help people, who gives therapy to people to help them be better, and that dark reflection of the inhuman side of it is, if you're gonna, how do you help inhumans? You help them by curing them, except the cure is death, and that death is better than living as an inhuman. And whether or not that was always in Andrew's heart, I don't know. If it's part of the thing, um, part of the transformation that's kind of making him feel like that more and more. It's up to you. I mean, it's kind of like, I feel like it's probably partially the fear of Inhumans and what they can do, and then mixed with that, it makes that maybe his character, the Inhuman part of him becomes dark about it. But there's lots of interpretations. I'm sure some people will fully agree with that. Some people will be like flat out, no, it's not how it is, blah blah blah. It's fine. But he's pissed, and rightfully so. I mean, if he didn't hate them before, if he didn't hate the what the whole thing with the Inhumans. I mean, if he really wants to be pissed at somebody, he should be pissed at the Kree, okay, for starting this whole thing. So he should be like, get me on the first ship out in outer space. I gotta have some words with some Kree people. But yeah, he didn't want this, and now be having this forced on him even makes him even more like, what if people are hurting themselves? And it's like, or hurting each other people, and not everybody is a Daisy Johnson. And we got a lot about that in this episode too, with Rosalind and Daisy, you know, butting heads, over this situation. Of course, they were put together to try to work things out, but I also feel like they were put together because of drama's sake. Again, you have these two people that are just going to be catty with each other because Daisy sees things one way and doesn't understand that they're just on the surface. It's to protect the inhuman more than anything else. Also to protect people too. And Daisy's flat out, like, you only see the bad. Well, you only see the good. It's there's like this kind of hard to reach agreement there, and both sides have points. So these characters are never gonna get along. Um, and there's this meeting with the president happening, and this also has another big turn where what we saw at the ATCU, where they're putting the characters in this gel. You know, she says, "Hey, we're putting them away to protect themselves and other people." But then at the end, you go, "Well, maybe that's true, but also something else is more dark and going on as well." I also love the line that Andrew says, "Secrets can eat you up from the inside." And he says this to Gemma, and it's just, I don't know. It's just too on the nose. It's just, if he's that worried, he should have come to someone and said, "Look, I got to put myself in a containment center and have a conversation with you guys. I'm Lash. I don't want to be Lash, but I don't know." Like I said, this is not my favorite episode, and I'm trying to talk about it with some gusto, but and also, this has to do with one of the reasons I didn't like this episode as much is because we have May again, and I love May, but uh, just like when Hunter and her were cornered by Ward, and he was threatening to hurt Andrew, and it was going to happen either way, and Hunter made his call, she wasn't going to do it because of love. When she's the cavalry and she's so pragmatic and she, knows what has to be done, she's the cavalry. She's the one who had to kill that kid. And so it's kind of hypocritical when it's like she's faced with it and can't do it because of love. And I'm not saying that you shouldn't have those feelings of like, oh, wait for a second. Wait, oh my God, what am I going to do? Oh, well, it has to be done. But I get it a little bit more here because she wants to dot the I's and cross the T's, but it also feels like she doesn't give Shield a heads up in any way, shape, or form. She doesn't say, hey, you need to keep an eye on Andrew, or, you know what, look, somebody needs to, put Andrew in a containment room right now. So you guys are spies. You can figure out how to trick him into doing it. Just do it. She gives him no heads up. And so I felt like that's just another way that they wrote it to make it more dramatic for dramatic's sake. And yes, I understand, again, anybody out there is going to be like, you don't know about love and what that makes you do, and you don't want to just hurt people without knowing. But a heads up would have been nice. Some sort of heads up saying you have to separate Andrew from the rest of the group and do it in a way just say, hey, Andrew, come with me. Blah, blah, blah. Oh, hey, look, let me show you this new containment field. Okay, boom, clock, sorry. We'll let you out when we know what's going on. But they didn't want to reveal the Lash until it was the most dramatic. So she, at least she does her research. She does check where he was and where the deaths took place and where Andrew was in relation to those deaths. And of course, he's always. I mean, doesn't anybody? I guess because he's the doctor, he's almost salivating when he gets the chance to go see another Inhuman, because he talks about it being a hunger. And so he's at their new training facility called the Cocoon, pretty appropriate because of the cocoon that the Inhumans go into when they change. But he's there with Joey Gutierrez, who's another potential for Daisy's Secret Avengers, which, again, to talk about this and the whole Inhumans thing and what they were all trying to set up through these through season 2 and season 3, and then the Inhumans show comes out and it's terrible and it just goes away. It just really negates everything that this show is doing and kind of changes the way you look at it when you watch it, because when we joke about it on Fans of Shield, and joke is a real loose term because nobody wants to talk about Inhumans because it's that bad. And so Secret Warriors and all these things they were trying to do with Inhumans, because they didn't have the Disney deal done and they couldn't say X-Men, couldn't say mutants, and Inhumans was the only thing that was left. And since the Inhumans were kind of like mutants, I'm not saying anything that a lot of you guys don't know, but it's just kind of weird watching this now, after all this time, and remembering all the way that this all fizzled out. And basically because they didn't give the show a budget, and they had the guy, one of the worst people to show run, who ran, did Iron Fist season 1, and then they gave him Inhumans as well, and it just anyway, we'll stop talking about that. But Joey Gutierrez is there with Andrew, and it's just, again, Andrew just basically can hold, like, the way he's looking at him and the way he's talking at him. If I'm Joey, I'm like, look, man, you want to eat me or something? The way you're looking at me, you're not looking like a therapist, all right? You want to put you're drooling a little bit. But we get to see Fitz. He fixes Gemma's phone, and he sees the photo of her with Will, and Will standing there like Mr. NASA guy, and her like to the side like, oh, and oh man, I mean, it's just like the worst kind of shot you want to see. He finally reacts and knocks everything off the desk, but at the same time he hears her messages, and I love that. See, they let him have his emotional moment, and then he just goes right back to being Fitz. He bears it down, though. I mean, it's not that he's not feeling it, but he prioritizes. So it's so weird how some of the writing will be super smart like this, and will give you a Fitz who won't will face things right off the bat, when you have characters that should be smarter like May underreacting to a guy who she loves knowing that he's a monster. And again, somebody will be like, she didn't know for sure. She knows. She's the cavalry. She knows. She's just in denial because she loves him. But she confronts him, right? She confronts him, and Lincoln, he's already telling Mac, this guy's in S.H.I.E.L.D. And they haven't come to the Zephyr yet to, like, tell everybody how they dotted the I's and crossed the T's. And they even have a little moment when May is looking at the research that Mac walks by and looks at her and doesn't do anything. He just keeps on walking, but he looks. He saw what she was doing. He was very attentive to like what's May looking at. So when it comes back later that he did his research too, it kind of explains like he was already kind of looking at something. But she confronts him, and it just turns into this like, how, like, why are you doing this? And he reacts. He says like instinct and shoots May. She wakes up and like his old offices in Culver City, chained to like a great big, I don't know, boiler, and that's not going to go well because he's like, oh, I was just worried about you. She's like, well, then why, like, why am I chained up? Like, well, how else does he think she's going to react? Because he does try to just keep saying over and over and over again, I don't want this, but it has to be done. And I don't know. And he tries to go into that whole story about like, remember our first apartment. And it's like, that's in everything, right? And it is a truism, right? A lot of people's first apartments have no heat, and all you do is get to eat ramen, and you just sleeping on a futon. That's one of those speeches that gets overused in movies and TV, is that romantic, remember our first apartment when all we did was we huddled around the space heater and on our futon as we ate grilled cheese off the radiator. It's true, but it's just, give it a rest. And like like Coulson says, you're a pretty poor example of a therapist right about now. I'm paraphrasing. And they still have that capture not kill thing. And even though I'm admittedly just saying kill him, they don't even know how to kill him. So capture really is the only best idea. And even Mac has that moment where he tries to stop Lash. He sees him and he's like, I've got to get finished on this shotgun axe idea. So we still haven't. This isn't a point. This is a point in the show where he hasn't gotten the shotgun axe, but it's coming. Um, and then so once everything is out in the open and Lash is out there and it's all exposed, there's no more pretending it's not happening. He just walks over everybody. Lincoln, can't stop him with his electricity. Guns don't stop him. Nothing can really stop him. He kills ATCU guys. He just stomps these people. And then he throws Rosalind off of a balcony or off of, one of these building ledges. And Daisy finds a new use for her power, which is stopping people with her quake powers. Now, that also shows like the level that Daisy has been working on things. She didn't know she could do this because she could have literally just snapped Rosalind into about a bunch of pieces where she'd be like, you saved me, but I'm like, she could have just shattered every bone in her body. But thankfully, the first try worked. She didn't do any of that. And so, they try to lure Lash into the containment field, but it's May that does it. And May that does it in a way that only May can do. Which is, she does her version of the sun's getting real low. Like she's talking the Hulk down. She's, remember who and all this stuff. And he brings all the emotions back, brings back the man. And then, of course, she shoots him a bunch of times and he falls into the containment field, which, again, is just how May would do things. Think about last episode with Bobby when she, just comes at her hard to get her to react, all to just find out if she was ready for a fight. This is just May. May and Coulson are so good at these moments that make you think one thing and then another thing happens. But it was probably the best part of the episode because then Phil's like, did you know that wouldn't kill him? She's like, no. She was ready to be the cavalry finally. And again, but it was only until the most dramatic peak of the episode when it was allowed to happen. When it should have happened, way earlier. But you have 40 minutes to kill. Fitz putting together that he doesn't think that Will was sent by NASA through the portal. That there's the symbol upside down that looks like the symbol that was on some of the stuff there in Maveth. And Hunter rightfully is like, oh God, please not some weird society, because that's a crazy leap. But guess what, Hunter? It's a weird society, I believe. Um, and so they argue what to do with Andrew. They let the ATCU take him for now. And Fitz and Gemma, you know, kind of talk again about what he heard on the video, and that she meant every word, and what do we do about it? And he says, well, let's just look at the sunrise for right now. Or is it the sunset? It's the sunrise. And at the same time, like I said, one relationship is starting to bloom again, even though it's got difficulties throughout the rest of the series. You got May looking out the window on the plane to the end of her relationship with Andrew, realizing that she's, lost the man she loves, probably for good. And so lightning crashes. And our stinger is Ward and Malik. Malik played wonderfully by Powers Booth, who we find out Strucker's not dead. Ward's going to just kill Coulson by cutting off the head of S.H.I.E.L.D. Again, he's just using these things that he's, from what he learned, like the opposite of going after Hydra, cut off one head, another head goes back. And then this time he's using the phrase against S.H.I.E.L.D. Because again, he says it's about revenge, but really it's about loss. And that he can't get back what he lost, so he's going to just take it all from everybody else. But we also find out that Malik has Rosalind on the payroll, and now Coulson and her are sleeping together, and she is supposed to be taking him basically to Gideon Malik, who's way up there in power. And so then it makes you question, like I said earlier, what is the ATCU doing with all those Inhumans if Malik's involved? Collecting Inhumans for an army to give, who knows what they're about to do with them. But if it's anything like what happened in Season 7, they got a whole bunch of powers locked up in one place. I don't know. So, and I can't quite remember all that. I do know what happens coming up shortly, but I don't remember what Gideon Malik's whole role in this is. So, that's Chaos Theory. Like I said, it's not the best episode, but I did somehow manage to talk about it for over 20 minutes. So, well, not fully. Not every minute was spent talking about this episode. But, yes, Chaos Theory comes and goes. And I can't wait to get to episode 8. Because what we've got coming up here is a lot of really important S.H.I.E.L.D. stuff. A lot of huge moments. We're getting close to starting the next group of episodes where we deal with the aftermath of Maveth and Hive and all that stuff. And Grant Ward's whole situation gets more crazy. So look forward to that starting next week with Cut Off One Head, I think it's called. I'm not quite sure. Well, let's just find out, right? Let's just find out. We can do that. Episode 8. We will be back. Oh, it's Many Heads, One Tail next week on Old S.H.I.E.L.D. New Reviews. So if you like this review, please hit the like button, comment, share, subscribe, all that jazz. Otherwise, this is Rob Sands. See you next week for more S.H.I.E.L.D. Bye. All right, real quickly, if my head wasn't screwed on, it would fall off. I'm trying to do something a little different. If you saw last week's review of this, you noticed I put a little clip at the beginning, and then I said something really quickly. I said, now here's your moment of Zen. And it was Bobby and May's fight. And I'm trying to bring that back, that term that Jon Stewart used to say at the end of The Daily Show. Now here's your moment of Zen. I think we need to bring that back. And so I'm bringing it back, and all my videos, I just got to remember to do it. And so, without further ado, here's your moment of Zen.
I won't do it again. But you have to stop this.
Melinda. How'd you know that wouldn't kill him?
I didn't.